So, let us now continue with the analyzing of the Queen's Gambit.
The Queen's Gambit is introduced after d4, d5 and c4, and the Queen's Gambit accepted after d takes on c4.
In this position, White can choose between lots of different variations, but we will continue with analyzing what happens after White's e4. It might not be White's best move, but it is one of the first moves that comes to mind.
In last week's episode, we analyzed what would happen in this position after Black's knight to c6. So today we'll continue by analyzing what will happen after e5. As knight to c6, this move targets the white center and more precisely the white d4 pawn, and the plan is to disturb the white position before White manages to capture the c4 pawn and reach an equal material position, but then with a far better center.
White can choose to take the e5 pawn, but that is not recommended since it leads to Black getting a strong initiative after a queen exchange on d1 and knight to c6. White has a weak king and weak central pawn structure.
So instead of taking on e5, White should try a more stable move, namely knight to f3. This leads to an interesting fight where Black is a pawn up, but where White has the positional advantage, compensating for the material disadvantage. Black does in this position mainly choose between two variations, e takes on d4 and bishop to b4 check. Knight to f6 is an interesting option, threatening yet another pawn, but it never became especially popular since White simply continues to develop instead of trying to protect the pawn, leading to White getting an extreme positional advantage for the pawn after bishop takes on c4, knight takes on e4 and castle kingside. Black is simply too far behind in his development, so Black has to choose another move. If Black decides to play bishop to b4 check, White has to be careful not to cover the check with the wrong piece, because if White plays knight to d2, Black gets the advantage after c3, queen to a4 check, knight to c6, d5, c takes on d2, bishop takes on d2, bishop takes on d2 check, knight takes on d2, knight to e7, d takes on c6, and knight takes on c6. Black is a pawn up and White has no compensation for it. So instead of playing knight to d2, White should play bishop to d2. Now follows an exchange on d2 and Black captures on d4 with the pawn, followed by White taking on c4 with the bishop.
Black is a pawn up in this position, but White has a positional advantage because of the well-developed pieces, and White does in this position have two ways of continuing from here, either by trying to recapture the lost pawn or by using the development advantage to target the Black king.
Black should now strengthen his protection of the d4 pawn by playing knight to c6, and this is followed by castle kingside and queen to f6. Black plans on finishing his development by playing knight to e7 and then to castle kingside. Knight to f6 might seem more natural than queen to f6, but it allows White to get a small advantage after e5, knight to d5, queen to b3, knight to a5, queen to b5 check, c6, queen to c5, b6, and queen takes on d4.
White has a small advantage in this position, so Black should not use this line or be careful not to make mistakes. We end this week's episode of the Opening School here, but we will be back again next week and then we will analyze Black's move knight to f6. So see you then.